Hello. Thank you for attending this talk on a data-driven learning approach to supporting the dissemination of research from non-English speaking institutions. I'm Anna Frankenberg Garcia, and I am presenting this in the name of my colleagues from the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, Simone and Anna, and also from the São Paulo State University, Paula. So it's a pleasure to give my first video recorded talk paper. With no further ado, let me give you a little background on this research. The background is that publishing in English can help researchers disseminate their work more widely. I think you will all agree with that. Most of the world's most read and most cited papers are written in English. The problem, of course, is that many researchers across the world have difficulties writing up their research in English. And of course, they would benefit from academic English writing support. Let me tell you very briefly about the Brazilian situation in this respect, which might be similar to the situation in many other countries. So Brazil is a Portuguese-speaking country, large monolingual, almost continental country. Portuguese is used everywhere and also at universities. English is taught in schools, but not always to a very good standard. And some of the researchers we're talking about have a very low proficiency in English. Few researchers in Brazil have the opportunity to work or study in English medium institutions, so they end up having very little exposure to academic English. Academic English support is available at universities, but the English that is taught there is mostly done by undergraduates who are language students. They are sometimes assisted by first language English Fulbright language assistants, but these teachers, they can help researchers with grammar and general English questions. The problem is that these tutors have no experience of working with specialized subjects, let alone of high-level research writing. So the opportunity came with the British Council UK-Brazil collaboration call, which aimed to fund projects that help improve the teaching of English in Brazilian secondary and higher education. And the Brazilian in our team work with the Languages Without Borders program, which is about teaching languages in higher education at the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul and at São Paulo State University. And there's also this UK partner, which is yours truly. I was working at the time at the Collocate project at the University of Surrey. We had common interests, corpus linguistics, academic writing. And our plan was to support English research writing in Brazil by combining support for researchers and for English tutors at the same time. So we wanted to achieve that through collaborative learning and a data-driven learning approach, using corpus materials and tools to foster teacher and researcher writing autonomy. And we planned 4 workshops, 2 in the south of Brazil in April and June 2019, and 2 in São Paulo, back-to-back, also in April and June 2019. And ta-da, we were awarded the funding, but we also needed to get match funding which we did from Sketch Engine, from the Brazilian Languages Without Borders program, and from Santander universities. So this is us planning the workshops, and my Brazilian colleagues came over to Surrey to discuss the Brazilian situation, observe EAP classes at Surrey, and prepare materials for our workshop. Which materials? Well, one of the things we did was begin simply with corpus-based dictionaries. Dictionaries are used mostly for definitions, translations, and playing games like crosswords. So very few people know how to use dictionaries beyond that. And corpus-based dictionaries can help with writers with phraseology, syntactic patterns, collocation, and so on. So we wanted to teach in our workshop how to use these corpus-based dictionaries when writing. And we worked with mostly free materials available, because the Brazilian situation is that there's really very few resources to pay for proprietary tools, like, for example, the Oxford Academic English Dictionary, which is very good, but needs to be paid. So we use the Macmillan Dictionary online for this, and as you can see, the entries have normal definitions, but they also have corpus examples here and collocations, and we wanted the participants of our workshop to notice these things and how they could use dictionaries, not just for looking up definitions or translations and so on. The next thing we used was typical phrases of different sections of a paper. And for that, we used the academic phrase bank developed at the University of Manchester by John Morley, which has different sections, as you can see here: introducing a work, referring to sources, describing methods, reporting results, discussing findings, and writing conclusions. And you can expand each section with typical phrases belonging to these sections. So for example, for introducing work, and then you can adapt these phrases to your own writing. Here, referring to sources, describing materials and methods, reporting results, discussing findings, and writing conclusions. So this is very useful for anyone who is at a loss or doesn't know what to write when it comes to the conclusion, which always happens to me, for example. Another thing we used were collocation suggestions. Now, when Paula came over to Surrey on her sabbatical, we worked on a corpus of learner English, or really of Brazilian researchers writing in English. And we found that their collocation repertoire is a lot less varied, very restricted in a sense, and that they have atypical collocation priorities. Like, they will say very often, this study corroborates, but very infrequently things like, which this study supports, which is a lot more frequent in English. And then they seem to avoid certain congruent collocations, so collocations that are very similar in their first languages. For example, empirical study and estudo empírico are really true friends, not true cognates, and they don't seem to be using these. I don't know why. So what we wanted to do was help them expand their collocation repertoire and see what other collocations they could use, and check that certain collocations that were similar in Portuguese could also be used in English. So we taught them how to use the Collocate tool, which really doesn't need any teaching. We hope it is intuitive enough so that people can start using it without any teaching. Anyway, the other thing we used was Corpora, and we started very gently with a very easy to use, no frills sketch engine for English language learning. which has things like this. So if you type research, you get a map of all the collocations that you use with research, but sorted according to grammatical relations. So here you have verbs that use with research as a subject, research suggests, research shows, focus, indicates, not corroborates. You can see here. And anyway, and you can expand these, for example, research suggests, and get examples of the word in context. So this is very useful both for English teachers and for researchers. It's the corpus behind SCALE is a general English corpus, but it can still help with many phrases that are used in academic English. And then we also use the full-blown sketch engine, which kindly supported us by granting 6-month free licenses to the universities we were at in Brazil. Sketch Engine also has a partnership with the EU eLexis project, where any university in the European Union can use Sketch Engine for free. And the corpora we used were English Web, which is a very large corpus of English with billions of words. And because it's so large, it does contain specialized vocabulary used in very specific fields. And we also ask the researchers attending our workshops to bring papers with target language publications that they wanted to emulate. So they brought papers in their own disciplines in their dream publication. So for example, for me, a paper like a journal like the International Journal of Lexicography or Recall, these are very good papers for me to publish. So I would bring a collection of papers published in these journals and build in my area, for example, collocation, and build a corpus with those. And then we taught our researchers how to extract terms and how to research those terms in context in their DIY corpora. And what's really lovely about Sketch Engine is that you can do all this in one afternoon without any extensive corpus linguistics training. So this was really useful. And then this is us delivering the workshop. So the way it began, every activity began with a warm-up. And in this case, we didn't really need a warm-up because it was really incredibly hot in this workshop in Porto Alegre here. The air conditioning you see on the wall was not working. The fans were not enough, but everyone was very happy to be there, as you can see from their faces. The next step after warm-up, we did a short presentation of how to use tools. So here we are presenting to, and this is already in the São Paulo workshop. And then students paired up or worked alone on guided exercises we devised to become familiar with the tools and resources. And finally, did some collaborative writing. And here you can see a researcher and an English tutor sitting side by side, and they are writing and talking, and the English tutor is writing down ideas for classes, and the researcher is asking questions, and they're looking up things in the corpora and tools we equip them with together. And we're also circulating around the room to help whenever help is needed. Then here at the end, they present there's an opportunity for sharing some insights at the end of every session. So our participants we had too many applications. We only had time to advertise 1 month before the workshops because we got the funding so late. And we had a huge demand, even though we only advertised for a very short period of time. And we managed to fit in 125 participants. The classrooms were full to the brink. Some people even had to bring their own laptops because there were not enough computers in the labs. And a few participants, interest was so big that a few participants traveled from other states to attend the workshops. And Brazil is a huge country. Or they commuted very long distances. We had people traveling 200 kilometers per day to attend the workshop. And we even had a new mom who just had a baby attending the workshop. And in all, there were 53 English tutors, and we selected them on the basis also of their level of English, and they had to have B2 level and above. And you might be wondering, B2 English teacher? And yes, I'm afraid this is the situation in Brazil. If we had asked for C1 level, we wouldn't have had too many teachers there. And then there were 72 researchers who applied, and we asked for B1 level and above. And among them were 32 PhD students, 21 lecturers or professors, 18 master's students. And the masters in Brazil, I must say, they are all by research. So they're not like the English, the British masters, which are taught courses. They're all by research. And we have one research fellow. So what did we learn? The level of English of some of the English tutors was a problem because some of them knew less English than some of the researchers. And some of them had too little experience of actual teaching. So what we did, we paired up less proficient and less experienced teachers with more proficient and more experienced colleagues. But in future, I think we need to give preference to more experienced teachers if we want the workshops to work smoothly, and plan more time for teaching teachers how to teach with corpora. So we could have perhaps an extra day just for the teachers in the workshops. With regard to the researchers, many lecturers and professors were too busy for a 3-day workshop. So many of the applicants wrote to us, can I attend only a day? I cannot free up 3 days in my agenda. And we said, no, if you commit, if you're coming, you need to come for all 3 days. And it was very difficult for them to find 3 free days to come to the workshop. But on the other hand, the lecturers, professors were the ones that who did come. They were the ones that were most engaged in the workshop. They were really, really keen. They had a very specific goal, and it was important. We also noticed we let, the postgraduate students, MA and PhD students, they had more time in their hands, but some of the students were just in too early stages of their work for the workshop to be relevant for them. They were just reading the bibliography of their disciplines. And so it would be helpful in future to have only postgraduate students at more advanced writing up stages of their work. So we would like to reduce the workshops perhaps to 2 days for the researchers, and maybe save the 3rd day for extra guidance for the English tutors, and give priority to researchers working on a paper for publication, whether it is a lecturer, professor, or a postgraduate student. We had some anonymous feedback also, and in the feedback we learned that the expectations about the workshop were exceeded or met 100%. The workshop materials were considered to be very good by the researchers and by the teachers. And they were all also very happy to recommend the workshop to colleagues. We had some open-ended comments as well, and these were just posted on the wall. And you can see here, this is from a professor who was very, very experienced. She was actually a full professor with, over 80 papers, but she always needs someone to translate or to revise her English. And here she thought the workshop was fantastic. It gave her autonomy to improve her writing on her own. Follow up. 2 researchers have since let us know that they have managed to publish the papers they were working on. One of them has even been invited to be a keynote speaker, which is at an international conference, which is really great. We want to get some delayed feedback, but we haven't managed to get round to this yet, unfortunately. But the things we want to find out are, have they been using the workshop materials? Have more researchers managed to publish? We only got informal feedback from 2 who volunteered to contact us, but maybe more have managed to publish. Have teachers used corpora and corpus tools in their practice? We're interested in knowing that. And has there been a ripple effect? Have teachers taught other teachers about these materials and tools? And have researchers shared what they learned in the workshop with their teams? And this is it. I'd like to acknowledge our funders and also our universities for giving us time to do this research. And these are the resources we used in the workshops. And here are some of our reference. So thank you very much for watching. Please post any questions on the conference chat, and we can share the PDF of these slides whenever you wish, and do contact us. So thank you very much for everyone. And that's it then. Bye.